Hi, it's great to see you. I hope your day has been going well. Now, this video, while applicable to everyone, really is a message for women in business and how you can, really how you should, or how you absolutely have to use your story to your competitive advantage. Now, for myself, working in a male-dominated industry, the speaking industry, I've been thinking about this a lot lately. And in fact, not long ago, I was on a flight and happened to be sitting next to a fellow speaker, a male speaker. And of course, we had a lot to talk about, being in the same line of work. And as we conversed, he shared with me his many career highlights, his multiple bookings, and the ins and outs of his business success. It was a really insightful conversation, but meanwhile, as we were talking, I noticed that all I talked about were my hesitations, my concerns, and I barely mentioned my success. And throughout our conversation, I found myself thinking, wow, he sure is confident. He must be really, really good. I'd hire him. I was envious, really. Now, not necessarily of his success, but envious about his ability to talk about his success. I was quite confident if it were ever to come between he and I for a speaking opportunity, all other things equal, he would get the job. Not because he was better or had more experience, but because he was better at talking about his experience. Here's the thing. For whatever reason, women are notorious for underplaying ourselves. We underplay our education, our experience, and our expertise. We don't want to sound arrogant or presumptuous. Now this isn't true in all settings. For example, trust me, I am no shrinking violet when I'm working with my client. I have no problem to make my voice heard and make my opinion known. But when it comes to asserting my value or pitching myself, I'd rather just say nothing at all. And now this is a serious problem. And it irritates me that a man might get a job a woman is better for simply because the woman doesn't know how or chooses not to sell or position herself well. So, what can we do about it? As women, how can we fix this problem? The solution? Better storytelling. Get this, using stories of our success gives us the opportunity to put our successes strategically and effectively into context. Well-planned stories don't feel like bragging because the story doesn't just focus on the win. The story focuses on the situation as a whole, the challenge, the characters, the emotions, what was at stake, and finally, the outcome. I have found that not only does telling the whole story make women feel more comfortable with their messaging, but storytelling is also a more effective, more comprehensive way of communicating success. All things created equal, the best story always wins. Your story is your competitive edge, and it is up to you to tell it. So, how do you do that? Here's the advice I can give you. First and foremost, go ahead and own your stories. If it happened to you, it's yours to tell. And don't limit yourself to only telling professional stories. I had a woman send me an email telling me her heroic story and asking if it was okay to share. She was nervous because it was a personal story, but it had shaped her professional career. My answer to her, yes. Now, you don't have to share all of the personal details, but if the executive you are today was shaped by your personal past, tell that story. Second, be intentional about the stories you tell. Take some time to really work on one story. Maybe it's the story of your greatest success, your biggest challenge, the moment you knew you were meant to do this job. Set aside some time to figure it out. So when the moment comes that you need to brag about your accomplishments, you can do it in a comfortable way with a well-planned, well-told story. Now, I think back to that conversation I had with the man on the plane, how intimidated I felt, how much more qualified or skilled or better he seemed. But then, at the very end of our conversation, I finally told him the story of my greatest speaking success and the events leading up to it. He looked at me, shocked, really, and said, "Wow, that's incredible. You're going to make it big." You see, in the end, It's up to you to sell yourself, to convey your value. Now, I have a feeling that if you're here, if you're watching these videos, male or female, you're the kind of person who knows you have something special to offer. Maybe you're just getting started, maybe you're already successful, but either way, you know you have the ability to really make it big. Your story is your competitive edge. In order to sell you, you have to tell you. Tell your story. And I am so happy I get to be the one to help you do it. That's all for now. Until next time, remember, you are just one story from greatness. Go on and tell yours.